Hello everyone, this is part 8 of my Sanderson sister house dollhouse. So I'm just going to get straight into the video today because I feel like it's going to be another long one. So here's the video. So I've got the house turned on its side so that I can see up and under these lofts a little bit better. I've got the whole house painted, the walls, the colors that I want them. This is the bottom level down here has just brown paint, and the top is the same color, but I've just gone over the top with a black wash using black acrylic paint and water, and that just brings out all those details and makes it look a little more realistic. So I like how this is looking up here. So I'm just going to give that give the whole house the black water wash, and then it should be done, and I'll get to work on the windows next. I've cut a hole right here in the ceiling, and that leads right up to the chimney. And I've took these little string of lights. It's a little battery pack light that leads straight up into the chimney, and I've put that little piece of cardboard that I had cut out right back over there to fill that hole back in, and I've left 4 of the lights on this side of the roof. So what I'm going to do is make a chandelier that will hang from the ceiling at this area. So I'm going to take this little piece of foam board that I've cut out, and just to help make that stronger, I've cut out a little ring of cardboard to glue to that, and I'm just going to wrap these lights around the top of the loop, the circle that I cut out. But I'm going to leave the lights standing up just a little bit. See, these lights are on a wire, so I'm going to have that light sticking up like this, and I'm later, once I get these wrapped around here, I'm going to show you how I'm going to make those look like candles. So once I get these 4 little lights, I'll turn them back on so you can see the light better. Why that may drown it out, there's such a bright light. Once I get them attached, I'm going to tone down the brightness some using paint. I'm going to start attaching this with brown floral tape. This is sort of like a waxy sort of tape, and it's kind of stretchy. But I'm just going to put the two rings together and just start wrapping this floral tape around here to hold this wire of lights on. Just making sure I keep that pinched up to create that little candle. And I'll get these all wrapped around here. And the floral tape, it's good because it's stretchy, and it's kind of got like a sticky texture to it. If you've ever used it, I use it for a lot of things. And I'm not going to measure out how far apart these lights are. I'm just going to randomly put them around there, as long as they make it around the whole circle. But I'm just going to finish taping these around here, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do to make those look like candles. So here is the little loop, my little cardboard loop, with the lights wrapped around, sticking up. And I've wrapped it with that floral tape. And floral tape is, like I said, I use it for everything, and it just kind of sticks to itself. And as you pull it, it kind of gets a little stickier. So it just really gave this a nice, even look. Instead of looking like two pieces of board put together, it kind of just covered those edges, and that'll just be easy to paint. And to get the look of a candle, I'm going to keep these little wires sticking up here with the little lights, and I've just cut a piece of a straw, and I'm going to stick that down over that, so when the light comes on, it'll look like a little candle light. I don't know if the camera's catching that because the lights are so bright, but maybe once I get these straws put over these last three lights, it'll show up a little bit better. And then just to tone down that brightness, I'm going to, of course, paint the straw, and I may even drip a little glue down there to look like wax is melted, and then drip some glue down here to look like the wax is melting and falling off down here. And here is the almost finished chandelier. This is the little chains. I just put those on. I used these tiny little circle hook things, these little screw-in hooks, and I used a tiny little chain. Of course, this will all get painted later, but I just put the three little hooks in around the edge. I put the chain on and put a larger hook up here to hold it to the beam, and then I'll just go in with the hot glue and drip some glue down to look like the wax. And then after I get this done, the whole thing will get painted. Now here is the little chandelier that's finished. I went over this with a little beige color paint, and I used a gloss because I figured a candle would have sort of a glossy look to it. So I've got it all done up now, and I did take the cord back and run it down the beam, and I put a split back here in this one, and just ran the cord through there, and then I just patched out with some of the drywall, and then I'll just finish painting over that to hide that. And I'll probably put spider webs back in here that will hide these cords later. So I think it turned out pretty cool. I'm going to finish up the painting these chimneys. I put red on there the other day because it was just mixed in with my Mod Podge, and I just wanted that layer of Mod Podge on there. Now I've gone over it with some gray as a base coat, and for the final layer I'm using several colors. I've got the beige, a brick red, a brown, a gray, a black, and a white. And I'm just going to work all these colors together on here, trying to get it painted like the bricks on the inside fireplace. So I'm just going to just randomly mix the colors on here, and I don't want them all one solid color, so I'm just going to dab a little bit and then add a little darker colors under here, under these details, to just bring out those details. And whatever, I don't want it too dark because I'm going to go back over it later with a wash, that black wash like I did to all the walls inside the house, and it'll make the details pop. I'm not worried about the grout line looking bright because with this being outside, I feel like it would have gotten a bit dirtier and darker outside, so I'm not worried about those grout lines staying bright. So I'm just going to keep working these colors in till I get the look that I like, and then once it's completely dry, I'll go back over it with that black wash. This is my final color. It looks a bit darker on the camera than it does in real life, but after this paint is dry, I'll go in with that black wash and dry brush that black and make these bricks pop out a little bit. And then even after that, I'll probably go and highlight some areas. It looks like in the picture some of these details are highlighted, so I'll go in there with a light gray or some sort of gray shade and just dry brush a little bit here and there to highlight some of these areas. And you can see I've got the lights in here. I'm going to, here in a minute, show you how I am going to do the purple smoke, and then I'll also add smoke to the other chimney also. Now, to create the smoke in the coming out of the chimneys, I had thought about different things to use, and I've tried different things, but I think what I'm going to like the best is this cotton sort of polyfill looking stuff. It's what you put in a Christmas village to create the snow. And I think it's going to look the best. So I've got some acrylic paint. One of these is just a dark purple. It won't be as dark on this as it is on the plate. And then this is a color shifting purple. These are all paints from the Walmart. So I'm just going to put some water in the paint and then just mix this up in that water, and then I'm just going to lay this fake snow. I want to make sure this paint is mixed pretty good so it's not too chunky, but it makes a real pretty purple color. And I didn't want it too dark, and as I was painting this, it was a bit darker than I wanted, but as it started to dry, it started looking better. And this gets your hands really messy because I usually just will take it and use my fingers to paint this. And you don't want to get too much water because that's just going to wash a lot of the paint out. So I've already got this little piece done, but I'm going to go ahead and paint it a little bit more also so that it matches the piece that I'm doing. And if I feel like it needs to be darker, I could probably add some more to it even after it's dry. But that will make a really nice smoke. I've already tested a small piece of it on the chimney, and it looked really good. So I'll show you a picture of that, or try to video a little piece of that here in a little bit. But so that's how I came up with the smoke. May go ahead and make a little more. I'd rather have more than not enough. Alright, so I've got the chimney done. It's dried, and I've dry brushed that with the black. Just barely dry brushed that, just enough to make those bricks pop out more. And then I went over it with just a little bit of white, especially on these areas here, to bring out this detail. And then I've attached a wire down through the middle just to give me something to attach my smoke to. And so here's the little cotton stuff that I painted earlier. I'm just going to pull this apart and make it as wispy and thin as I can, and probably use a little bit of tacky glue to just work this in up here like this. And then, you know, the more I pull it apart, I think the better it'll look. And it's still kind of wet. It's got quite a bit of water in there. So it still probably needs to dry a bit better. But that's basically, I mean, I'm going to have to work with it a bit more. And then that's basically how it's going to look. And then once the lights shine up and makes that glow, I think that's going to look really good. So let me work with that a little bit more, and I will turn off the lights and let you see how that looks. So here's the smoke after I got it twisted around the wire. I think it looks pretty cool. I think it'll still look better once it dries, because in these darker areas, that's where it's still wet. And once that's not so dark, it'll still look a little more thinner, more smoky. And I think it turned out pretty cool. I'll probably still tweak it a little and work with it a little bit more. So I'll turn out the lights so you can see how it looks. And of course the lights aren't wanting to go all the way up to the top, so I'll probably work with that a little bit more. Now I think it looks a little bit neater in real life than it is on the camera. It's a bit dark, it seems, on the camera, and in real life you can see this up here a little bit better. But and it looks really purple. I don't know if the camera can pick up how purple that is. I know it shows up a little bit better in pictures, but I'm really happy with how that's turned out so far. So now I will work on the smoke in the other chimney and also let you see that one. Alright, so for the next one, it's not got the magic potion brewing inside, so it's just going to have regular smoke. And for this one, I'm just going to use the plain cotton and just simply pop that in there. And I feel like if it's just a little less than that, it looks a little more real. And just pull that up into a point. And it's just simple. I like how that looks. It didn't take any effort to do that. So there's the smoke for that one. And then over here we have the purple smoke that is glowing. And I think I need to pull this one apart just a bit more also, just so it looks a little more thinner like smoke, and just see through that a little bit. But I'll have to wait till that's not so wet and I can work with it a little bit better. Alright, so now I've got another one of my little battery pack candle sets here, and I like these a bit better because they're not a bright white like the ones I've been using. These are a little bit more of a warm glow. I think that looks so much better. I wish my others were that way, but and they're quite long. I don't know how I'm going to work all these into this house. But I do know on one end I'm going to start at the top. I gotta get these straightened out a bit before I can do this. Okay, I think I've got it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some slits in the back of my beam here. And just take my razor blade and cut some slits back here. Because all I want to do is take this little wire that has these lights on it and work it in that split to where I have the light sitting on top of the beam. So there's the little light sticking there. I'll turn that on, maybe it'll show up a little better. And I'm gonna have that stick up there, and I'm gonna do my little straw thing, my little straw candle idea. Just place that straw over the top of that to create a tiny little candle. And I'm just gonna go down this beam, putting these little lights and placing straw on top of that, and just have little candles sitting across this beam. And the main part of the wire will be hidden behind here, so you're not going to see that wire as I stretch them down, making another candle in another spot. So I'm just going to go down through here, just putting a few, not too many, and then I'll end them out here on this end, and then the lights on the rest of the string, I'll use those in other ways back in the other half of the house. Alright, so I just noticed that I sat here talking and said a bunch of stuff and not even recording, so I'm making sure that I'm getting it this time. And so anyways, I've got these lights where I want them, and I've got the wires back here where I want them. And something that I've figured out that I could do in areas it's hard to see, I've just took a mirror and I hold it back here in the back just to see how things are looking. So I figured that out, and I've got all my little candles going here, and I'm just going to put a little dab of glue at each one to hold them in place, and then I will put the straws over tops of it, make sure they're standing up straight, and then I will go back and take the hot glue or maybe the tacky glue and just put little drips dripping down. And I want a lot of wax dripping down at the bottom, because I noticed in the movie the candles that's in the house have a lot of wax that drips down. So I want to make sure I make it look the way it looks in the movie. And I don't know that they had candles sitting on top of their beams, but I just thought it was a lot of space here that needed something, and I just thought that the candles would look really cool. So I like a lot how this is turning out. So I'll just get these placed, and then I'll get the hot glue drips going and get that painted, and then we'll come back and look at the final result. Okay, so I've got my candles placed, and I've dripped a little bit of hot glue up here at the top to look like the wax dripping, and I've got all the way down this far painted, and I thought, well, I probably should film a little bit of me painting these. I've mixed up a little beige colored paint with Mod Podge. I don't want to just use straight up paint, because when you drip paint like this, it will dry and it'll crack. It'll get little cracks in it. So I'm hoping that mixing the Mod Podge will keep it from cracking. I'm just going to drip it down these candles on the outside. I don't want to fill up those little straws, because that'll block out the light completely. So I'm just dripping this Mod Podge and paint mixture down these candles to look like the wax dripping, and just to kind of cover that straw so you don't see that it looks like a straw. And then I'll probably age it just a little bit with a little bit of the black wash, and then I'll show you you know, how the end of the cord will end out here at the bottom, because I'm going to do a couple more lights that will be hanging on the wall. So some of those will go onto the wall, and then the last parts of them, I'm not really sure how I'm going to finish it off, but I'll have to figure out some sort of a lantern or something at the end where I can just shove those last few lights in there. So I'll just get these last couple candles painted up, and then we will work on those little wall lights. Well, before I move on to the little wall lights, I did want to show how much I'm dripping this wax, because if you look at the movie, the candles hanging from the ceilings, or just anywhere they've got candles, they've got tons and tons of wax dripping. So some of you may think, oh, he's going kind of crazy with that wax dripping, but really, if you look at the movie, it does, all their candles, it just don't look like they've ever cleaned any of their candle wax off, because they just keep letting those drip and drip and drip till the wax just keeps building up. So I'm just gonna, I think I've got it to where I like it. I'll kind of move the camera a little bit closer. I love how that looks. I'm going to turn this light off. Maybe that candle glow will show a little bit better. But I think they turned out really awesome. So I'll probably be putting a lot more of these little straw candles around. And I'm just lucky because I've got this beam where I can hide that extra wire back there. And I'm just able to have so much in this house that it's easy for me to hide these cords. And even if some of the cords are showing now, I'll be hiding those later. But I just love how these candles have turned out, and I can't wait to make more of those. So we'll start working on the little wall lights and get some of those made, and I'll show you how I'm going to work on those. Now, to create this little wall candle decoration, I'm going to continue with this same string of lights that are coming from up on the beam. I'm just going to bring it around, and I'll cut a slit here and run that wire through that little crack in the wall and patch that up, and you won't see that. But I'm going to take one of these little candle, or one of these little lights, and I'm going to create a decorative candle hanger. I've got some of these hanging in my own house. A lot of times they'll be tin, and it'll just be a decorative tin wall candle thing. I don't even really know what you call them, but and sometimes they'll have a mirror hanging behind them. So I've cut out this little thin cardboard circle, and I'm going to cut out a piece of this shiny duct tape. It's silver duct tape. I'm just going to put that duct tape onto the cardboard and attach this to the wall. So I've just peeled that tape off the back, and I've put that cardboard on there, and I'm just going to kind of trim around the edges, leaving a little bit just to fold it back around towards the back. Now I'll just fold that, and I'll just make sure it's rounded nice in the front. Just go around that till I'm happy with how that looks, and then I'll just glue this directly to the wall, and then I'm going to make a little metal piece. Well, it won't be metal. I'll just make it out of a little strip of cardboard that'll attach to this, curve up into the front, and we'll attach the little candle light to this, and then I'll add the straw and make it look like the candle in front of the little decorative mirror. Okay, so I've got that little mirror decorative piece here, and I've made this little it's just kind of like a little J shape out of cardboard. I just bent it into an L and then bent it up again, because this is going to be glued right back here onto this, and then the candle will hook to this little piece here, and well, the light will glue to that, and then I'll slide my little piece of straw over this, and that light will be up in there, and that's going to create that little candle for the wall. And I'm going to turn that off. That may show up a little bit better if that light isn't glowing. Here, I'm going to do something with these 3 lights here. I'm going to make one of these the black flame candle, which will be on permanent display on this corner of the wall. It's going to be on a pedestal here, so that's what one of these lights will be for. And then I'll patch up this little crack and fix this candle, and then all these down here on the end of the string, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with those, but they're going to be going over this direction, so I could probably do a few more candles, and then at the very end I'll probably just cram it all into some sort of a lantern that can just sit in the floor, just to hide the rest of the lights that are on the end of this string. There's quite a few left, so we'll just I'll just leave them hanging out over in the end, and then I'll just decide later what we'll do. But I'm going to go ahead and start working on that black flame candle and finish up this little piece, and then we'll come back to the others later. Okay, so this has been quite a process, but I put a cut across to here and all the way down so that I could drop the extra lights to the bottom, and then I've gone in here with some of my drywall and just patched that crack I made. So I'll paint back over this to where it's not so noticeable, and then I'll get this little candle finished up, and then I'll bring you back and show you how it looks. So here are my final candles. I've got 10 candles across the beam, and then I've got the little one here, and I did cut out a little circle of cardboard and attach to the bottom, and I'll just paint that black later. I guess this is supposed to be the little piece that catches the wax to keep it from falling to the floor. And I've still got these 3 little bulbs sticking out here. This one here is going to become the black flame candle, and I'll work on a pedestal that'll stand here, and this will be the candle on the top of that. And one more thing while we're in this area, I did these little pot holders last week. I just cut a little thin strip of cardboard, it may have been poster board, and I just painted those black and glued those on, and I stuck 3 little stick pins in there, and I made one out here on this end, and that's just to hang up these little copper pots, and maybe some dried herbs. We'll just have to add some more things to that later on when we start the little details like that, but I just wanted to show what those were since it kind of showed in the video last week and I didn't talk about those. So as I've been getting things done, I have been just adding little details like that, and of course we'll get more into that hopefully soon. The whole project has been taking a little bit longer than I originally planned. You know, if I hadn't been recording, I could have been getting things done a lot quicker, but the recording process just takes a lot of time. So hopefully the house will be wrapped up in another couple more videos, and we can get down more to the smaller details like this. So earlier I said that I was going to work on the staircase, some of the windows, and the water wheel, but I feel like this video is already going to be a little bit long like the last one, so I'm just going to work on the staircase and the windows and maybe save the water wheel for next week. So I'm going to do the stairs going up this way, and then they're going to turn and go up this way. So I've already got this piece cut out, which will go here. The stairs will go up through here and then back up this way. So this wall will be here, and it'll be cut out here in a little bit to make a staircase going up this way. But this wall will stay here, and this will, back in this cubby area back here, will eventually be a little closet area under the stairs, which will be the place where I'd make some of the props, some of the popular props that you may be able to guess what will go in that broom closet. But so I'm just going to cut out these steps here. I've already got them traced out, and this piece will go back here to make the steps, and then I've just took this extra piece and I've put it up here where I've wanted it, and I've just traced it, and I'll just cut that out, and that'll give me that staircase design that I need. And I'll be able to take this part up here and just flip it and use it over here on the other side. So I'll just get that cut out and get that glued in place, and then we'll start making the little boards to go across this direction to make the actual steps. Alright, so I've got these steps cut out going up this way, so that'll be glued in place here. And then I've traced the bigger half here and made a second one. It'll go back here, and then I will cut the boards that will lay across these shelves here. This piece will need to go all the way back to the wall, so I've just cut out a little piece to fit into here to take that all the way back to the wall. And then there'll be a landing. You'll have the 4 steps and then a landing, and then the landing will go up to this set of steps. So I'll get all this glued in place where you can sort of see that better, and then we'll start putting the tops on. Alright, so here I've got all the parts glued on, ready for the steps to be attached. So I've already cut out a little piece that will be for this landing here, and I'll cut all these the top parts of these steps out of the foam board, and then for these pieces that will go across this away to hide back on the back side, I'm just going to cut that out of this thin cardboard to make these back pieces. But for the actual steps that things will be sitting on, I'm going to use the foam board just so it's strong enough to hold things. Alright, so I've got all my little step parts cut out, so I'm just going to glue them on while I talk about some of the things that I've got on my list. One of the things that I was wanting to mention was about the movie, like my idea for a movie. If I was to make a movie, if you've watched the second one, those 3 little actresses in the beginning of the second movie that's playing the sisters when they're younger, I think it'd be cool if they would do a movie with just those 3 girls playing the parts, and it could start out like in the second movie, like how it shows them being kicked out of their village and banished into the woods. I think the third movie should show them going into the woods and picking up kind of where they found the spell book, and they could do that scene, and then it could show them going on through the woods and finding the house and explaining kind of how they took over this old mill that they found, because that's what this house is an old mill. So I thought that would be kind of cool to cover that in the third movie. But I really liked those 3 little actresses that played the sisters in the beginning of that second movie. I think a lot of people from some of the comments I've read have mentioned they'd like to see a movie with just those 3 little girls. But I've got all these numbered. I've got numbers on the bottom so that I'll know exactly what step to put them on, because for some reason these didn't all match up. Like some's a little bit wider than the others. I don't know how I got that off, but it ain't really going to make a difference. But yeah, I think it would be cool if they do a third movie and then, you know, just start out where they're getting the book like they did in the second film, and then going on and finding the house and showing how they took over the house, and just somehow make a storyline from there. And then at the very end, it'd be cool to have the 3 original actresses like Bette Midler and Sarah and Kathy Najimy. It could show a clip at the very end where they're maybe around the cauldron and they can all turn and look at the camera, or just something simple there at the end with those 3 actresses, and then that can kind of be where it picks up in the original movie. I thought that'd be kind of cool. They wouldn't have to play through the whole thing, but just have a little clip at the end where they're grown up and it shows them in the house, and it shows where you know, it'll just be the scene where it picks up in the original first movie, and it can maybe even show Billy, of course, through there somewhere, how he looked before he became a zombie. But I always wanted to see the house better. I wished it would have showed the house a little bit more, especially the upstairs part, because I was watching a little documentary thing about the making of the movie, and the people that actually built the house said it was really made good, that you could almost just take that and put it outside and live in it. It was made so well. And it makes me wonder if a lot of those parts are still around. You know, I'd say somewhere at Disney they've got a lot of the original pieces of that house. It'd be kind of cool if they would put a lot of that on display. Now I've got all this glue oozing out of the side, but I can take the tip of this glue gun and just flatten that back down, because there's going to be a piece of trim. This is way small, but there's a piece of trim that'll be cut, that'll go right here to cap off the end. It'll go here and down here on these sides, and then there's going to be a little built-in thing here. I'm not really sure what it is. It's just like a little wall that comes out and makes a little square. I noticed in the movie, I don't really know what it's for, but it's just some sort of a little built-out thing. And then there's a shelf standing here that's like a little corner shelf. It's got a lot of stuff sitting on it, so I'll build that little whatever that little wall thing is. It's here. I'll try to show a picture of that later. And then I've got all these on, as you saw, so I'll just block up these back parts. And also I've got to cut out this little door, and in this door, that's going to be my little broom closet. That's where I'm going to put the vacuum cleaner and the broom and the mop, because there's going to be a lot of brooms through the house. I noticed they've got quite a few brooms displayed through the house, and maybe next video I'll work on a little broom and a vacuum and a mop, since I've got the little closet made for it, because the house is almost done. I mean, all the big stuff in the house is finished now. Once I get this finished, it's pretty much done, and I can finally start working on the accessories. And I will start working on the windows before I end this video. Just a few of them, and maybe next week we will work on the water wheel and some of those little mops and brooms and things. So I'll just finish blocking up these backs and probably paint this just the way I did the walls, give these walls some texture, and do the trim and just finish these up. So these will hopefully be done in the next video to show you. And so I'll just work on that for now, and we'll finish it up in the next video. So here is where I'm at now. I've added this little piece of trim here to just cap off the ends of these steps, and I've got the other parts cut out to do that to these steps, and I've been putting on these bottom pieces across here just with that thin cardboard. And it's been good to have the model just to help do these steps. It's helped me realize how wide to make them and how high to make them. So he's been a big help in this part. I've also got to add the handrail, so that's what I've got these little wooden pieces for. I'll put these down here to make the handrail. And this is that little built-in piece that I was talking about in the movie. I'm not quite sure what it's for, but it'll get painted like the walls. I'll put a top on it because I noticed in the movie I think there's like a crock sitting up here, and then later we'll build a little corner shelf to go in this corner. And then I'll cut out this door, and when I do cut the door out, it's going to kind of make this weak, so I'm going to put a wall back here. Right now this is open and you can see back in under the steps, so I'll put a little wall back here just to help strengthen it up. And I was thinking, if I do put a wall here, I'd like to have a little cutout window in there so that people can see inside, even though there'll be a door. If you don't want to open the door, there'll be that little window there to see inside, because that's where the vacuum cleaner and the mop and the broom will sit. And I may even somehow put a light in there. So I'll work on that little half and just finish up this trim, and finish this up and go ahead and probably paint it today. And I may not show it all at the end of this video, but we'll see it next time. And so I'm going to just work on this a little bit more and then start working on the windows, because I've been wanting to get a couple of the windows done to see how those will turn out. Some of this had this magic marker on here, so I just peeled that off because I was afraid that would bleed through the paint, because I know sometimes ink will bleed through paint. So I just peeled that off to be on the safe side. And I think that's all to show on this for now. So I'll just work on this a little bit more, and then we'll start the windows. Okay, so to wrap up today's video, we're going to do these 3 windows, which I've already got 2 of those done. I've not painted the trim. I've just done like a base coat with Mod Podge and the brown paint, and I'll go over those later to darken those and match them up to the rest of the wood pieces. But here in this window, I kind of showed this a little bit in one of my earlier videos where the outside trim just overlaps this window, and it kind of creates like it is on a picture frame. So you just I cut out my little plastic piece and I sanded this just to make it look a little more old instead of just such a perfectly clear piece of glass. But I just sanded that with sandpaper, cut it to fit, and just popped it in there. And then I've cut my little mesh stuff here that's going to go over that to look like the detail in the window. And I just popped that in there, and I use my little strips of foam board that I've cut to just frame it out just like it's done on the outside. And I just make sure that it's not perfectly even down at the bottom or not up in the window, but just kind of middle ways, so it's kind of like you know, the outside is done kind of like the picture frame. So I just cut out all these little parts and I'll glue those on there. And the windows are pretty easy. They're coming together real good. I really love how they look. I'll try to get some pictures from the outside looking in, the way the lights look on the outside. So I'm just gonna pop that right there. And this is just the foam, and then when I get these glued on, I'll go in there with that hot glue gun and give that just a little bit of a texture, and then I'll finish that up on the sides with a piece of the foam. I may even shave that down so it ain't quite as thick or as wide of a board. But I'll get that done, and just like on some of the other things I've been doing, I can go in here and I can kind of round those edges so it ain't got such a sharp edge. And I could even use the tip of the glue gun to give this a wood texture, just quickly scratching across there to give that a little wood grain look, so it ain't so smooth. So I'll finish framing out this window, and then I'll take a few pictures or video or something from the outside, so you can see how the windows look from the outside with the light shining through them. Here's what the windows look like with that little decoration in there. After I sanded the little plastic pieces, I do like how that looks. I got that idea again off of Bentley House Minis, just to make it look like, you know, older windows, and I think it looks really good, but I may not sand them that much in every window. I think I want some of the windows a little more clear, because it may be that I sanded too much on them. I mean, you can of course still see through them, but not as sharp. The further away things are, the blurrier they get. So on some of the other windows, I may just go around the edges of the windows and not the entire square. But I do like how the sanding effect makes them look more dirty or old. So I'll still probably sand them all, but just maybe at the tops and the bottoms or in the corners or something. But I really love how the windows are turning out. Also next week we will probably paint the outside. I've got its base coat on, so it just needs painted, and then the outside will be totally finished. So we'll work on that next week also.